Hi, Stephanie. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I am really looking forward to hearing about Queen of Raw and discussing our shared mission to really leave a positive impact on the planet. Now, to get us started, I'd love to learn a little bit about how you got involved in the world of sustainable fashion. I understand that you were exposed to the world of textiles at a very young age. Your grandfather was actually the person who introduced you to the industry. So I can only imagine how meaningful this connection is for you. Can you tell us a little bit about this exposure, how it impacted your career journey from a corporate attorney to a fashion tech to sustainability entrepreneur?
Thank you so much, Scott. Thrilled to be here with you and excited to share more. You know, my family has actually been in fashion and textiles for over 100 years. In 1896, my great-grandfather, Pappy, came over on a ship from Austria. He actually landed at Ellis Island and settled into the Lower East Side of New York, which was the original garment district. And he had to make a living for his family as an immigrant chasing the American dream. So what did he do? He found materials and supplies nearby, old fabrics and furs and things immigrants had brought over on the ships with them, but they weren't using anymore. And he would repurpose them by hand into the most beautiful fashion garments. And he sold to local customers. And it was a very profitable, successful business. And, you know, our inspiration with Queen of Raw has been, how can we use technology to get back to the way my great-grandfather did business, which made sense for people, for planet, but also for profit. And as you mentioned, you know, I didn't do the typical family route. I was on Wall Street as a corporate attorney, but ended up specializing in fashion, technology, and sustainability. So I guess at the end of the day, right, we get back to our roots and who we are. And then the market crashed in 08 and 09. And similar to what was going on today, right? I saw the height of waste and greed and excess going on in the world and took that as my opportunity to go build a business and change the world and never look back.
Now, that is a cool family story. You know, when I hear that, I always think about that's what entrepreneurialism really is. Your great-grandfather, Pepe, using what the materials he had, they were sustainable without even thinking about it. And then your own personal story. It's amazing how we get drawn back to what's really important. And it's great to hear about how you're using your skills acquired in both the different industries to be able to do good for the planet. So I think we can dive a little bit deeper into the world of fashion. As we all understand, waste is a major problem in the fashion industry. I think the statistics go that on average, only 15% of the clothing is recycled or donated and the rest goes into landfill. So the obvious is, how is Queen of Raw addressing this sustainability challenge?
And it is a challenge, but I like to say it's also an opportunity, right? And I'm on a mission to solve the world's water crisis. And of course, my focus is fashion and textiles, which by some accounts is actually the second biggest polluter in the world of clean water globally. Little known fact, one t-shirt, right, takes an average 700 gallons of water to produce it, and that's one shirt. Over 2 billion shirts, right, are sold around the world every single year. So if we continue at the current pace of textile production, by 2025, according to the World Wildlife Fund, 2/3 of the entire world's population will face shortages of fresh water, be exposed to hazardous chemicals from textile production alone. And I mention that because we're not talking about 100 years from now. We're not talking about 50 years from now. We're talking about today and on our shores. But that's the problem. Now let's talk about it as an opportunity. If you think about it, that means that fashion and textiles and supply chains literally have the power to solve the world's water crisis if we rethink how we do things and focus, you know, for example, on waste as a resource. And looking at waste, as I'm sure you can imagine, through the COVID pandemic, more unused inventory than ever before, right? Because of all those canceled orders, closed stores, missed seasons and collections. In fact, every year, now over $288 billion worth of unused stuff just sits in warehouses collecting dust or gets burned or sent to landfill. And I like to always say, right, at that volume, waste isn't just environmentally irresponsible, this is a CFO issue. And that's what we address at Queen of Raw. We have built a global marketplace with supply chain software so businesses can buy and sell their unused textiles, keep it out of landfill, and turn what would be pollution into profit.
I love it. Every challenge can, with a mindset, but also with the management, go into an opportunity. And that's what Queen of Raw is really doing. You've got a long-term vision about the impact on the planet. And I think you gave some examples, but what impact have you already seen as a result of the efforts of the work that you and the team are doing?
Yeah, when we started this business, we initially focused just on the marketplace. And first, we were about democratizing access to this dead stock, these unused materials and inventory with the marketplace. But now we've been growing with our supply chain software, and we actually are democratizing access to the resale technologies that we built, so everyone can participate in the circular economy. And of course, we track the data for all the water, toxins, carbon emissions, and dollars saved by the activities taken on our platform through that waste being bought and sold. And if you think about it, right, although we focus on fashion and it is a big consumer of textiles touch everyone, everywhere in the world, every day. It's your clothing, but it's also the material on your chair, the inside of your car, the carpet under your feet. So I think our future vision, right, is how can we take this across industries, across raw material categories around the world? It's automotive, aviation, computer electronics, consumer goods. They all have supply chains that create waste. How can you find the waste, sell the waste and make money, and over time minimize that waste? And we want to build that Amazon or Alibaba done right with better transparency and sustainability. And I will give you one interesting statistic. By doing what we do and reducing textile waste and keeping this stuff in circulation, we've actually already saved over 1 billion gallons of water, and we're just getting started. And that's enough clean water for 1.4 million people to drink around the world for 3 years. So we can do it.
I love it. And it's, when you can measure it in such a way that it's, as human beings, that's material, that's meaningful to communities and societies. So, it's great to know that what you're doing, you can see such measurable impact, but also the opportunities to expand that and scale that in the future. I want to change tack a little bit if I can and talk a little bit about another major fashion trend that has also a detrimental impact on the planet, and that's fast fashion. Although the negative environmental impacts of fast fashion has come to surface only in recent years, fast fashion brands continually retain their popularity around the world. I'm interested in how you've seen the fashion industry evolve to be much more sustainable businesses in their practices, and despite the trends towards shorter product life cycles, make use waste approach to fashion. How is that going?
Yeah, as much as fast fashion is a part of the problem, I also believe they're a huge part of the solution, right? Because changing just 1% of the way they do business can have a massive impact on everyone. So I think, there's been this myth for so long that sustainability has to cost you money to participate. And the good news is, right, that by focusing on, for example, a business's waste, they can actually sell that today, make money, and then turn around and put that money back into doing good work in their supply chain, right? Then you can pay your workers more. You can digitize more part of your supply chain. You can use more sustainable materials. And you can do all that without your overall CapEx expenditure increasing. And I think that's truly how we are not only going to survive today, but thrive tomorrow. And at the end of the day, sustainability to me is about building solutions that make sense for people, for planet, but also for profit. And I do want to encourage everyone from fast fashion to, luxury haute couture to be a part of the solution. I think another valuable piece is that we even want to work with government, and we partner with fast fashion, with H&M and others in how we're thinking about the future. Because the future supply chain is going to be, I believe, one that is more on demand, more local, and more sustainable. And we, with H&M and the New York City government, formed the New York Circular City Initiative to show, by New York City going circular in the coming years, here's how many good jobs can be created and how much money can be saved and made. And I think those are the kinds of business models we really want to push for as we change the laws.
It's interesting, isn't it, Stephanie, is that this myth, and I would call it a myth, around sustainability and profitability and good business, they are one and the same. It's the mantra, to be sustainably profitable and profitably sustainable. So the two go hand in hand, and it's really encouraging to hear what you say about organizations like yours and others taking those steps to positively impact our planet. Scalable change is impossible without collaboration and innovation. And certainly at SAP, we live by that mantra, which was why we're always looking at ways to use technology not only to solve business challenges, but those are actually social and environmental challenges, and that together they can't be treated in isolation. For you, when you look at the role of technology in enabling that world of zero waste, that passion you have about helping the water of the planet, how is Queen of Raw using technology to drive sustainability at scale?
Yeah, at our core, we are a technology company, and we're really proud to partner with SAP to be able to do this at scale. Because, we talked about profitability as being this myth that you can't be profitable while being sustainable. But there's also a myth in sustainability that it's only good for eco-conscious collections or little pilot projects, that it can't be done automated and at scale. And that is absolutely 100% incorrect, thanks to all the incredible technologies that are out there, right? When we first started Queen of Raw, we did start as a marketplace, matching buyers and sellers to keep the waste out of landfill. But if you think about it, a marketplace to sell waste is great, it's powerful, but it's kind of just slapping a Band-Aid on the problem. How do you get to the root of the problem and figure out, why do I have all this waste? Where did it come from? What is it made of? Who does it go to? And most importantly, for my business efficiency and economics, how do I minimize this waste going forward? And that's where we leverage our incredible partnership with SAP and the fun machine learning, AI, and blockchain, because businesses need to capture that data so that they can act on it. And a lot of this was, dark data before. And that taking action piece, right, is so critical. And being able to have the data is important, because these businesses are doing good work, but they a lot of times don't want to speak about it publicly because they're afraid if they made a mistake or they don't have record and proof, what happens? But now, thanks to technology, they can have that, speak confidently. And one of our enterprise Fortune 500 customers, just by doing that, saw 3 times the conversion rate in their online direct-to-consumer business just by talking about it. So again, we can marry people, planet, and profit at scale.
Yeah, we certainly can. And, I've got to tell you, I love listening to you and hear the passion and the belief and the energy that you bring and what Queen of Raw does, because you're trying to look for solutions to some of the world's most complex problems. I'm sure it does feel overwhelming at times. So I guess the personal question is, what inspires you to stay motivated and committed to Queen of Raw's zero waste mission?
Yeah. I actually launched my business at the same time as I had my first child. And that moment of having my first baby, my Jacob, it is so powerful, right? Because in that moment, aside from the pure love and bliss and happiness, it's not just about you anymore. It is now about my children and my children's children. And I'm doing this for them. I want them to have clean water to drink, clothes that aren't toxic to wear, and a planet to live on. And I know I can be a part of making that happen. And there are definitely days, especially as an entrepreneur, but in any business, right? Especially now more than ever, that can be more challenging than others. And on those days, I think of them, right? That's what drives me every day. And I actually think of one particular moment. My son Jacob was 3 years old, and I was pushing him in the New York City streets. And of course, New York City is loud. And I hear something coming out of the stroller. And I leaned forward and I listened. And all I hear is my 3-year-old saying, "Are you naked right now? You're not, because you're using fabric. It's everywhere and it's polluting your water." He was doing my 60-second pitch. Now, of course, that probably meant that as a working mom, I was practicing my pitch too many times while pushing the stroller. But it also left me with this thought that if he can get it at 3-year-old, anyone in the world can get it. We can do this.
I love it. I think your 3-year-old son would be a champion at being able to pitch our future. So talent is everywhere, especially the world's youth. And I couldn't agree with you more. We are custodians, all of us, in not only for our current, but our future, for our children, our children's children. And it's just so inspiring to listen to you. And I know for many of our viewers, with your passion, your energy, but you're also your can-do approach to making a difference and eliminating waste. There's many who want to play a role. What advice would you give to anyone who are looking to use their talents to make that positive difference to the world?
I would tell them, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to get out there, put your idea out there, test your solution, iterate on it, and learn from it. When we first started talking to fashion brands and retailers, and we were lucky to be obviously in New York City by the Fashion District, I can't tell you for how many way back when we first started looking at this issue, it was thought of as a nice to have, but not a have to have. And we'd end up talking only to the sustainability departments. And don't get me wrong, they are incredibly powerful and important. They are your brand champions. But a lot of times they were new to the company or not fully integrated into the full enterprise, or they didn't have a budget to work with, right? And I think that bringing about meaningful change truly requires the participation of all the C-suites. You need the CEO setting the corporate agenda, the CMO doing the good marketing and storytelling, the CFO who feels this waste and a pain point, the CTO and the COO who are building the technology solutions, right? Fast forward to today. And of course, I think according to the latest McKinsey report, it's a top 3 priority for every C-suite to be addressing this. But I think that's just proof in the pudding that a lot of those no's fortunately turn around and becoming yeses. Part of it is timing, but part of it is also having courage of your conviction, believing in what you're doing and actually acting on it and pushing forward. And that's how we're going to go change the world together.
I love it. Amazing, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited not only for Queen of Raw, but for the contribution you make and also the role model that you are for so many. We're going to continue to follow your journey and have an impactful contribution, not only to a sustainable world, but one that we can be proud of what we've left for our children going forward.
Thank you so much.